So we were talking about younger people and how if they haven't worked for a company, they show up in cool outfits that we look at and go, oh, no. It's like, you're not allowed to wear that, because we have all this history on our shoulders of what we were allowed to wear, what was presentable, what was, like the woman who was looking at you like through her glasses. My first job at 16 was working in the lingerie department in Hallie's department store, which was the fancy one. And I was folding slips. Do you even know what a slip is? You wore a slip? Really? You were little girls when you wore those slips. So it's kind of like those are the things we have in our history. And I personally think it's wonderful. It rubs me totally the wrong way when somebody shows up in something that I don't find appropriate. But I'm like, Michelle, you're being an old lady. Look how awesome it is that this person felt so empowered and wore something so creative. So I always tried to soften it with, don't take my old lady history and put it on these people who have never worked in an office. People may never work in an office again. They're never going to have our history where we went through the schooling, then the college, and then the working for bosses with their feet up on the table, clipping their nails. It's like that doesn't happen anymore because HR won't permit it.
When I think back on what I wore when I was younger, I probably was wearing things to stand out or maybe to get attention because I was younger, because I was female. And sometimes those things, not that they were, a crop top or something like that, but sometimes those things got me attention that I didn't want. And that wasn't good. And it's a bad place to be in, and I don't think it was my fault.
I guarantee you it was not your fault.
Yeah, now I realize.
Right now,
yeah,
it was not your
and nothing was ever inappropriate, but I feel like, there were times if I was wearing something more fitted that I realized later that I was getting attention that wasn't the attention that I wanted. And
it's so unfair.
It's unfair.
But it's real. And I
it
think
is real.
I think that the
Yeah.
reality is, you can call it unfair. It may be all those things. But at the end of the day, you have to be thinking about, to your point, what
do
do
people
I
see?
want people to,
Right.
what is the attention I want?
Right.
And if this is taking away from them seeing what I'm really trying to get across, then I'm going to make a different statement. I don't know that I think going the other extreme is I'll wear whatever I want and you have to live with it, and figure out how to read me the way,
It just depends on what markets you're in. When you ask me about your brand. So this morning on one of my billion stories that I looked at already in bed at 5:00 this morning was an interview with Dolly Parton. And she was talking about, that lady that was in our town that dressed like a tramp and her hair was piled up and red lips and long and showed a lot of cleavage and stuff. She's like, I thought that was great. And she said, during my career, I had people come up and say, Dolly, you need to tone it down. No one is going to take you as a songwriter seriously unless you start to button up that top a little bit and, bring the hair down a few feet and, kind of a thing. And she said, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. So it depends on what your brand is. It depends. And
if you walked into a bank dressed like that, I think it might be a little different.
A bank is one thing, but there are a lot of other creative businesses where, so you have to walk this really fine line of what's too much, what's inappropriate, and what is my brand kind of a thing. So we can't imagine seeing Dolly Parton in any other kind of light, or Cher, or, or Pink. Go back to the pink hair, people have those, and those are easy names to throw out that people can recognize right away and hang their hat on. I mean, Beyonce does a great job of changing so many different things. That reminds me of Madonna, when she was a blonde, then she was a brunette, and then she was into bondage, and I don't know what she's into now, right? So it's kind of it's all these morphing of things. Just like you said, what will the customer think if I had short hair and suddenly I have long hair? I did it in reverse. I had long hair and I'm back to short hair now. Because it's not about how you look that represents your brand. It's your brand has to be recognizable by what it's representing. Is it a color? I have people will say, oh, that's definitely Michelle because look at that color, right? So your brand has to have some unspoken elements to it that is recognizable, whether you have long hair or short hair, you know? It is the glasses. It is the lipstick. It is that, you know, that's more of the brand than how long your hair is, kind of a thing. So that's kind of how I marry that topic.
Well, I love that, because that was going to be my question to you. Is how can personal style be a tool in your business and personal branding? So when you're working with a client and you're working on their branding, you know, how do you look at somebody who's come to you for this kind of guidance and help them? I mean, sometimes I think we may have a sense of what that is for us, and sometimes it evolves. Like, to be honest, I didn't wake up one day and think like, ooh, sneakers is going to be what people think of when they think of me. Like, I wear sneakers because I love them and they're comfortable and I feel good.
When you're working with someone on their brand, I do an exercise. Here's a plug for me. I do a 2-word brand exercise where you come up with your 2-word personal brand. It's after sifting through 650 words. 2-word brand.
You give them the words?
No. Oh. Yeah, they have to choose.
I'm saying
I give them the words. Yeah, I give them the words, and we go through all these various exercises. And it is amazing how when we come down to those 2 words, they're like, oh, that's it. That's it. My 2 words, genuine, bold. It works, right? Yeah. Whether it's my hair, whether it's my brand, whether it's my house, like the house is crazier than what I look like, kind of a thing. So it's like deciding where to go with your brand. The logos, the websites, and think those are steps 8, 9, 10. Right. There's so much work in front of branding that has to do with your mission, your vision, like all the things you're feeling about, like how do I show up in my business and that morphs and directs how you look, right? Yeah. So if you're a confident business person and you want to show up, you know, you're like, it's really important to me to be responsive to the polo industry and stuff. There's a lot of room to work with inside of that. So she can try different things like that. So it depends is always the answer, because
that's the lawyer answer.
Because I believe in a couture answer. And couture is different on everyone. And fit is the most important thing. So if you put on a jacket and the shoulders hit you here or they hit you here, it's wrong. It needs to hit you exactly right. So you can take a cheap ass jacket, cheap jacket, and as long as you get it tailored to you, like this whole ready-to-wear thing, RTW, ready to wear, off the rack. This is not couture. Couture was, we take your measurements, we fit this jacket you liked on you, for you, and then you look wonderful in it. If you just take a jacket, we have one jacket, you put it on, we're all going to look different in it, right? You can't have one answer. It depends where you're putting your foot in the river at the time. Yeah.
I like the 2 words, and I think that it's a good jumping off point, because I think like it's hard, and I think that's a big piece of like what we try and work on at the Daily Drip, and making sure that we're helping, because these are people that they're it's not that they don't know who they are, it's not that they're not confident in what they do, but figuring out like how to be able to express that and show up digitally as well as in person, that what you see on the website or what you see on, you know, on your webpage or whatever it is, matches the person that you meet when you meet them, right? And that it's all authentic and it rings true for each of us, you know? So I love that.
It's also breaking the mold. Like there's nothing worse than like when you have a coach or a financial advisor or even lawyers or whatever, pictures, blue suits, smiles, you know, like it's all, nobody wants to talk to you.
And I was actually just gonna say that, you know, I think for me coming out sort of as the social media lawyer, right, and really carving out this niche in the law and working with creative entrepreneurs, there thankfully, you know, wasn't a whole lot to look at to say, oh, this is what it looks like. So it really freed me and allowed me to decide, you know, what's the brand? What is it going to be? What will it look like, feel like to the end customer? And I think I had a decision to make, as we all do, I think, especially when we move into entrepreneurship, it's, am I going to be a disruptor? And if I'm going to sort of disrupt the way that, you know, these types of services are normally delivered, then I have to be free to create the brand that's going to do that. And so, yeah, maybe I'm a lawyer with braids and with, big glasses and red lipstick and fun colors. And that's okay. And there's no one else that looks like me, or very few people. And that's okay too. But understanding that, it might be, when you're educating, I think, your customer on what that is, that takes time.
And I think to your point, the other side of that is that you're looking to attract a certain type of creative and a certain type of client. Like the person that isn't going to understand all of the color and whatever, those aren't the people you're trying to connect with. And I think that's the most important thing when we're talking about brand and we're talking about how we're showing up. We're not for everyone. Like that is for sure. And we don't want to be. We want to be for a particular, there's one type of person.
Choosing a niche is so important when everyone's like, no, then I can't sell to everyone. Yes, you can sell to everyone. It's like a niche just gives you a direction. The people who fall in love with you and want to work with you, who are outside of that niche, don't care about the niche. They will come work with you because you have that niche. So it's like, it's not a negative to have a more narrow focus, as opposed to you sell to everyone, you sell to no one, right? It's like the more focused you are, the people who still love you, they will file in. They don't care that your niche is,
No, what starts to happen is those people start to say, oh, like, I see that you work with creatives, but do you work with other people too? And we're an example of that. I mean, Melia's been helping my husband with his business. He ain't a creative, I can tell you that. It's actually a fintech company. But the point is that I'm not her niche. He's not her niche. Right. But it still attracts. Like I still got everything that mattered in terms of her professionalism, in terms of her knowledge as an attorney and working as a business law attorney. Right. All of that was communicated through your brand, through how you hold yourself, all of that. So I think that's exactly right. You niche, because I think that's the best way to even start your business, and it's a lot easier than going wide. You're better off going deep. Absolutely. And then it pulls other people organically into the fold.
And it's all stems from confidence, right? Like I think if you want to pull all of it, like for style, fashion, everything, it all comes down to confidence. Like it doesn't matter if you show up in something wacky or something conservative. It depends on your confidence in the room at the time.
And courage to do it, right? The courage and confidence, because if you don't have the courage, whatever it is wearing you. Right? It's like you can choose the style and you can go for it, but you may not be able to wear it like me, because I have not only the confidence to wear it, but I have the courage also to show up being me. And when I wear it, I'm wearing the clothes. The clothes aren't wearing me. And I think that's what we should strive for.
The first time, my first divorce, yes, there's more than one. I bought a silver sequin dress to say F you, right? So I wore this silver sequin dress to some event somewhere, which was in the 80s. It was not, people didn't wear sequins at that time. It wasn't a thing yet, unless you were going to the disco or whatever. And I remember I did have to take a shot or two of vodka before I went to this party, because I was a newly divorced person and I had this silver sequin dress on. And I remember standing at this party and like, you have to have a bit of a facade when you're wearing this crazy, like, look at me thing, right? And I remember I could feel him on my back. He was touching the sequins. He wanted to touch the sequins. And I was like, yes. And then he was, oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm like, there's someone in the dress, But it's like the courage. Sometimes you have, like, if you choose something really outlandish to do, obviously I do like a little theatrics. Give me a theme. I'm happy. So when I have the chance to like perform, I consider that a performance, right? If you're going to something, you're going to perform yourself. You have to kind of get your brain into whatever it is. It's really courageous and it is confident, but it's fun to do. It's fun. The first time you do that, you're like, oh, that was fun. I could do that again.
We've been talking about this throughout our conversation. You have to be yourself, right? So you have to be yourself. And that's what's going to give you the most confidence. So if you don't feel comfortable in a suit, or if you don't feel comfortable in sneakers, or however, your hair a certain way, then don't try to be something that you're not, because people are going to see through that and you won't be your authentic self. However, with that said, I do come from a background where, I believe that there should be some level of being put together and having a presence and looking professional. And there's certain things that are professional in this world and certain things that are not. And if you want someone to, see you in a light that is flashy or, sexy or something like that, then that's what they're going to see you in. If you want somebody to see you as a smart business person, then maybe you need to tone down what you wear as a, person on the weekend where you look fantastic and you look great. Maybe you need to tone it down so that people will actually listen to you and not be looking at what you're wearing. Be authentic, be yourself, but be, Nicole said this to me earlier, dress the best version of yourself, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I feel.
Because I think that there is something to be said. Like, we're still talking about people. Like, people that, like, it is human nature. You're the first thing is when somebody walks into a room, and it's not just, to me, it's a combination of things. It's sort of how they're put together. It's also an energy thing, like how people, like what their energy feels like as they there's some people that they can look all sorts of fabulous, but they're coming towards you and you feel like you're gonna have a heart attack because their energy is like super intense or whatever, or they might be just so much. But I think that it's, I as much as we all like to say, like, wear whatever you want, just own it and whatever. And I agree with that to some degree, but you're still talking about people, and we're talking right now specifically about how to operate in a business space, not, be damned with everyone because this is who I am and how I'm showing up. Like, you're walking in and you're trying to get a new client, or you're trying to, bring on a new community partner, whatever the case may be. They're looking. They're not, most of them can see.